thing about coming up with cold opens is you do enough episodes, and you run out of ideas of things to talk about before the actual episode.
It turns into like alien sex or
or
animal sex or which zombie would you like to fuck more? Or
which zombie would you like to fuck more?
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck any zombie.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had to fuck a zombie, it'd be...
Why do I have to fuck a zombie?
Rosie O'Donnell zombie.
Why, what? This derails immediately. Nothing we say makes sense anymore. We used to be legitimate, I think, at least more so. No. What happened to us? What happened?
Hugo and Jake, the Bible is jaded, and most are taken, so get educated with Hugo and Jake. Pull up a pew and stop what you're doing, it's Bible reloaded time. They call it debated, the theorists will hate it, like talking to taken, but it's Hugo and Jake. So I'm with the show then, it's not candy coated, it's the Bible reloaded with Hugo and Jake, with Hugo and Jake.
Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this is the Bible Reloaded.
Again.
Last week we talked about Saul's death because he died, and there were two different ways he died actually, but if you want to hear about those contradictions, look at the last episode. This week we're talking about what happens in that power vacuum and how David ascends to become king of all Israel.
We're about to get all Game of Thrones up in this bitch, but less nudity. Hardly any nudity.
No nudity.
Yeah.
Unless can we get nude? We might be nude now. You wouldn't know.
You don't know. Maybe we're half nude. Maybe he's top nude. I'm bottom nude.
It equals out. We have one whole clothing set between us.
Yeah, I think that.
If we needed to go into a store somewhere, we could fix it, and then one of us could go get delicious snacks, and the other could remain naked in the car,
tweeting.
So today we begin in 2 Samuel chapter 2. David anointed king over Judah. In the course of time, David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go up to one of the towns of Judah?" he asked. The Lord said, "Go up." David asked, "Where shall I go?" "To Hebron," the Lord answered. So do you think David, every time he wants to go anywhere, asks God, like, "Hey, I need some bread and eggs. Can I go over to, the Piggly Wiggly?"
You know what I love?
What?
That at this point, God is relegated to being a tom-tom.
Basically.
And now, God just, he actually wants a conversation for the first time. And he's like, "Oh, David's calling. Yeah, awesome." He goes, "Bring."
"Hello?"
Hey, God.
"Hey, David. You're cool."
Thanks. I just want to ask you a quick question.
Oh, did you want to get some lunch? I'd love some lunch.
No, zero lunch.
Oh.
I mean, I'm busy.
Okay.
Should I go up to one of the towns of Judah?
I guess. Did you want to meet?
No.
Did you want to maybe meet there and we can go shopping or
No, that sounds just awful.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you're going to be there, I'm going to be at Hebron later, so that's a nice place.
You're telling me I should go to Hebron?
I'm saying you need to go to Hebron. Go to Hebron.
Are you going to be there?
I might be. I'm everywhere. But mostly Hebron. So David went up there with his two wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. I like that every time his wives are mentioned, they have to say where they're from.
Yeah.
Like, you remember their origin story? Like, what if they were like, Spider-Man, the guy who was bitten by the radioactive spider. Every time, Batman, orphan. David also took the men who were with him, each with his family, and they settled in Hebron and its towns. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there they anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. So David's in Hebron, lives there for a little while, and Hebron is within Judah, which is the southern tribe of Israel.
Yeah.
So one day people just come and say, "Hey, you're our king now."
And he's like, "Okay."
And that's the status quo from now on. We don't know why, other than in the past, certainly he's had military victories, but we don't know what spurs this want.
There seems to be a theme of, the Hebrew people and the people of that area wanting to be led by people.
Strong people, yeah.
I guess.
Or men of God, whatever.
Yeah, so I think the implication is that God sent him there to end up ruling. But I'm reading in between the lines just because he asked God where to go.
You gotta.
But I mean, I'm just going to assume that's what they mean. I assume that's what an apologist would tell me.
When David was told that it was the men from Jabesh Gilead who had buried Saul, he sent messages to them to say to them, "The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul your master by burying him. May the Lord now show you kindness and faithfulness, and I too will show you the same favor because you have done this. Now then, be strong and brave, for Saul your master is dead, and the people of Judah have anointed me king over them. It's like, thanks for burying him, I'm your king now, bitch.
Yeah, I don't know. How long has he lived there before this happened?
It doesn't say. It does not say how long he was there.
Okay.
I'll assume maybe like a week, though, because he gets shit done. He's like Joe Dirt. Good things just keep happening to him.
Joe Dirt. He's fancy.
Joe Dirt 2 coming out, by the way.
Seriously?
They're filming it right now.
Oh, I fucking love Joe Dirt. It's such a bad, great film. I got the poo on me.
Ugh, you have poor taste.
No. It was one of the first movie trailers I ever edited in my multimedia class in high school.
So, everyone, the origin story of this show involves Joe Dirt. You can abandon the channel now if you'd like. I wouldn't blame you.
Oh, poor David Spade.
Next, we move on to War Between the Houses of David and Saul.
This is so convoluted.
This is where the Game of Thrones shit comes in, and we're going to have to heavily explain this.
Still, though, 0 titties.
0 tits. Verse 8. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ish-bosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. And just for the sake of my own and your own sanity, instead of saying Ish-bosheth, I'm just going to call him Ish from now on, because we're on first-name basis. He made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, and Jezreel, also over Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. So,
he's like inheriting the throne of where Saul used to reign, basically.
Minus Judah, though, because David
David's
is in charge of the southern area of Judah, and everything north of that is being controlled by Saul's son, Ish. And we see a civil war is brewing, much like, think of like Avatar The Last Airbender versus the Fire Nation, but instead of good writing and solid animation, we have this. Ish, son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. The tribe of Judah, however, remained loyal to David. The length of time David was the king in Hebron over Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So, spoiler, you know that the other guy only rules 2 years, but David for 7. So, you can guess who wins the war.
Yeah.
Abner, son of Ner, together with the men of Ish, son of Saul, left Mahanaim and went to Gibeon. Joab, son of Zeruiah, and David's men went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool and one on the other side.
Ooh, so we got like a showdown.
So on the one side we have Abner, who's the leader of Saul's son's army.
Yep.
And on the other side we have Joab, who is kind of the second in command to David. And they're kind of, it's a standoff.
Look at them as generals.
Basically. Then Abner said to Joab, "Let us have some of the young men get up and fight hand-to-hand in front of us, as you do in a military." "All right, let's do it then," Joab said.
It's kind of like a duel, almost. Like, we kind of mentioned the heroes duel before. Similar to that, it seems, but I don't know if they're trying to make a statement or if it's just for sport, because the way he phrases that is just like, you want to watch some guys kill each other? I mean, we could if you want.
Then they thumbs down, like in Gladiator.
Yeah, just like Gladiator.
So they stood up and were counted off, 12 men from Benjamin and Ish, son of Saul, and there was 12 for David. Then each man grabbed his opponent by the head and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side, and they fell down together. So that place in Gibeon was called Helkath Hazarim, which means
Field of Daggers.
Solid. So what I'm
solid.
getting from this is they grabbed each other and all stabbed each other simultaneously and died.
Which is just, what a brilliant coincidence that worked out.
Yeah. The battle that day was very fierce, and Abner and the Israelites were defeated by David's men. So, like, the stabbing was the pre-show to the actual battle.
I guess.
Like, hey, before we battle, guys, let's watch some people stab each other.
They have a halftime show, too, where they did, like, some dancing?
Yeah, the opener is the stabbing, then you have some light combat to begin with, then you have intermission.
And you have, like, a bad comedian.
Yeah, and then the final act is where you get lots of slaughter.
Nice.
Righteous slaughter. The 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abiashal, and Asahel. Now Asahel was fleet-footed as a wild gazelle.
Yes.
He chased Abner, turning neither to the right nor to the left as he pursued him.
So straight? He ran straight at him, and it wasn't serpentine?
Yeah, so this is the brother of Joab chasing Abner. And remember, Abner is the leader of the other army, and Joab's brother is now chasing...
Yeah. This will seem random, but we'll
discuss it.
We'll tell you about it.
Abner looked behind him and asked, "Is that you, Asahel?" "It is," he answered.
Still sprinting?
I know, like, what a weird...
It is!
Then Abner said to him, "Turn aside to the right or to the left. Take one of the young men and strip him of his weapons." But Asahel would not stop chasing him. So this is Abner saying to him, I am a leader of the military, you're a foot soldier, you can't be chasing me and trying to kill me. Go kill someone of my army of your own rank.
Yeah, so it's kind of this classist sort of thing going on, which, frankly, will stay pretty deep into, like, even medieval times, where it's like, you don't kill a king, you're supposed to, like, kind of capture them. I mean, it does happen all the time, but it's just kind of one of these things where it's more of a respect issue. You're not trying to destroy everything. You're just trying to be more powerful.
Yeah, you don't kill the king. Yeah. You capture their king and take him to your king, and your king kills him, so he gets the glory.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Again, Abner warned Asahel, Stop chasing me. Why should I strike you down? How could I look your brother Joab in the face? Because, as generals on opposing sides of the military, you really need to have respect for the other one, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want disrespect, but it's just... It's a weird cultural thing that doesn't translate well to today, where it's like, hey, we're trying to kill each other in this war, but I don't want to kill you because I do respect your brother.
It's like a great American general right now being chased by one of Saddam Hussein's sons back in the early 2000s, and not killing him out of respect for Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, which sounds so weird to us, but it's, especially because this was a smaller area, you kind of knew more people, I'd assume. Yeah. Especially if you were an affluent member of society, you probably kind of knew the other affluent people. But Asahel refused to give up his pursuit, so Abner thrust the butt of his spear into Asahel's stomach, and the spear came out through his back. He fell there and died on the spot. And every man stopped when he came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died.
Holy shit.
So he stabbed him not with the pointy end of his spear, but with, like, the wooden butt end of his spear, and it stabbed him through.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, I that's so much strength is required. Or maybe he just stopped and let Asahel run into his spear because he was like a gazelle.
Yeah. So basically, Asahel forced his hand, and he was forced to kill him because he's not going to die.
Yeah.
He's not going to let this kid kill him.
But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner. As the sun was setting, they came to the hill of Amnah, near Giah, on the way to the wasteland of Gibeon. Then the men of Benjamin rallied behind Abner. They formed themselves into a group and took their stand on top of a hill. Abner called out to Joab, Must the sword devour forever? Don't you realize that this will end in bitterness?
What a great quote. Must the sword devour forever? Super poignant, Bible.
How long before you order your men to stop pursuing their fellow Israelites? So he's saying, like, stop this, it's a civil war, motherfucker. I'm losing, so now I'm upset about it. Joab answered, As surely as God lives, if you had not spoken, the men would have continued pursuing them until morning.
We were gonna murder you until you were like, I don't want to be murdered. And then we're like, oh shit, of course he doesn't. That's silly. I'm sorry, we shouldn't have tried to murder you.
And then they stopped trying to murder him. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the troops came to a halt, and no longer pursued Israel, nor did they fight any more. Besides Asahel, 19 of David's men were found missing, but David's men had killed 360 Benjamites who were with Abner. Wow, they're just the best. Apparently there is no reason for this war to even happen, because David is so boss. They took Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb at Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men marched all night and arrived at Hebron by daybreak. So they've put Asahel to rest, basically, and they're pretty sore about it, even though they won the battle. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. And then we just get some...
like a list of David's sons, and it's not really that big a deal.
Yeah, we were not going to cover it, but it's just some genealogy stuff. Yeah. But we move on to... Abner goes over to David, and remember, Abner is the leader of the house of Saul's army. So the person basically David is fighting against is Abner. During the war between the houses of Saul and the house of David, Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah, and Ish said to Abner, Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?
What?
So I have a couple things to say. For one... they're still calling it the House of Saul. Saul is dead. Can you please start calling it something else? Two, they're talking about Abner sleeping with Saul's concubine. But again, Saul's dead, so it's not his concubine.
Count. Your dibs are done. Like, you can call dibs. Your death ends them. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, basically.
You get no more dibs.
And then Ish, the son of Saul, who is the current king, is now saying, Why do you sleep with my dad's concubine?
Because she's a concubine. That's her one job.
Not only that, but... Abner says this didn't happen, and we're not given any reason as to why Ish would ever even think this happened.
I don't know. Is he trying to frame him, maybe?
I don't know.
Because
There's
we
no
don't
good
get
reason.
we have no real context in this, and for a book that's driven on story and lore, you'd think you get something.
But nope. Fuck it, I guess. Verse 8. Abner was very angry because of what Ish said, so he answered, Am I a dog's head on Judah's side? This very day I am loyal to the house of your father Saul and his family and friends. I haven't handed you over to David, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman? May God deal with Abner, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for David what the Lord has promised him on oath, and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba.
Whoa.
Holy fuck.
So he got accused of banging a concubine, which isn't really that big a deal culturally there. And now he's like, you know what? Fuck you, Ish. I'm gonna make sure David's king over this shit.
Yeah, what the fuck? What a weird switch.
What a strange... He's got mood swings. I think everyone just needs to take a chill pill.
Everyone in the House of Saul has mental problems. This guy has the bipolar hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't smoke a whole lot of drugs, like at all, but I think all of them need to smoke some drugs, chill, listen to some Pink Floyd or, whatever they like. Sublime, just chill, like eat cookies together, just be okay.
Basically.
Maybe some SpongeBob. Nobody hates SpongeBob.
Ish did not dare say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him, so he's the worst king ever, basically.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, he's not mentioned beyond, the next page, so it doesn't really matter. Then Abner sent messengers on his behalf to say to David, Whose land is it? Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you.
Well, that's a good letter to receive.
It's like, hey, you know me, your sworn enemy right now? I'm on your side now.
Want all my shit?
Good, said David. I will make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me.
So Michal was David's wife that he ended up losing for a little bit during the Saul-David struggle, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And remember, he was pretty upset about that, but then he got 2 other wives. But now he's like, time for wife number 3, sort of.
Yeah. Remember, she's also the one that he gained by bringing all the Philistine foreskins to Saul, 200 foreskins.
And then he jumped out her window and ran away and left her forever, because he's romantic like that.
Then David sent messengers to Ish, son of Saul, demanding, Give me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistine foreskins. It's a weird letter to receive. Imagine Ish had no idea what happened. He's like, what?
Yeah. Actually, and he double paid, because he gave 200 foreskins, so he probably could have gotten 2 wives, but...
Basically.
But, he's a good tipper.
A weirder letter to receive would be like, Ish, I need my wife and the 100 foreskins that are owed to me. Find me 100 fresh, wet foreskins. So Ish gave orders and had her taken away from her husband, Paltiel, son of Laish. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way, to bury him.
Oh.
Then Abner said to him, Go back home. So he went back.
So this guy, who fell in love with Michal after David ran away and left. And, he was there to pick up the pieces of her shattered soul. She got left, man. And he was that nice guy she's always wanted. She loved the idea of David. She didn't love David. She loved this guy. And then he's following her just in shambles. His whole life is being torn apart. And then some guy looks at him, points, and goes, Go back home. And then he turns around and leaves.
And David's the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Killing people, ruining families. Nice guy. He's the kind of person who on the internet complains that women don't like nice guys, but really they're the asshole and don't realize it.
Oh, absolutely.
Women only like assholes. Why don't they like me? I treat them nice so I can fuck them. Why don't they fuck me? Because that's not how people work. That's not how you treat other human beings. Internet. Meanwhile, Abner conferred with the elders of Israel and said, For some time you have wanted to make David your king. Now do it, for the Lord promised David, By my servant David I will rescue my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies. So he goes to the council of northern Israelite tribes and says essentially, Hey, I'm on David's side now, you should be too. Follow me to David, because presumably Abner, being head of the military, has a lot of respect from the elders, and they take his word into account when making decisions. Abner also spoke to the Benjamites in person. Then he went to Hebron to tell David everything that Israel and the whole tribe of Benjamin wanted to do. When Abner, who had 20 men with him, came to David at Hebron, David prepared a feast for him and his men. Then Abner said to David, "Let me go at once and assemble all Israel for my lord the king, so that they may make a covenant with you, and that they may rule over all that your heart desires."
Oh.
So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace.
That's a good deal.
So basically, everything seems like it's going well. Abner said, "I'm on your side. We're all good. I'm gonna get all the Israelites together, and we're all gonna follow you from now on."
Yeah.
And you think it's gonna be fine, but
It's
just
not.
like Game of Thrones, shit goes down, and then you get red weddinged.
Is this where the gay king gets assassinated?
It's just like that. This is just like that, minus the incest. Not in this part, at least. The incest was earlier.
The red wedding was pretty nuts. The red wedding was nuts. Everyone got all sad, and I was just sitting there like, oh yeah.
The Lannisters send their regards, bitch. 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 22. Just then David's men and Joab returned from a raid and brought with them a great deal of plunder.
Great deal. How much did you bring? It's a great deal of plunder.
But Abner was no longer with David in Hebron because David had sent him away and he had gone in peace. When Joab and all the soldiers with him arrived, he was told that Abner, son of Ner, had come to the king, and that the king had sent him away when he had gone in peace.
Why do you have to repeat yourself?
It's the Bible. You
I
gotta.
hate it.
So Joab went to the king and said, "What have you done? Look, Abner came to you. Why did you let him go? Now he is gone. You know Abner, son of Ner. He came to deceive you and observe your movements and find out everything you're doing." So basically, Joab still can't even though Abner has now turned to the good, quote-unquote, side, Joab can't accept that because Abner killed his brother.
Right. So he's kind of, it's part vendetta, part distrust.
Basically.
So he thinks he's like a spy.
Yeah. Now when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in an inner chamber, as if to speak with him privately, and there, to avenge the blood of his brother Asahel, Joab stabbed him in the stomach and he died.
Poetic justice!
So, behind the back of David, Joab has gone to kill Abner, who has now turned to David's side.
Yeah, I can't imagine this will turn out fine, because whenever someone kills a person without David's permission, it tends to not go over very well with him.
Later, when David heard about this, he said, "I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner, son of Ner. May his blood fall on the head of Joab and on this whole family.
Whoa.
May Joab's family never be without someone who has a running sore or leprosy." Ew. Or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food. So fuck you, Joab.
Yeah, and family. And just kind of an interesting tidbit, in the Bible, when they use the word for leprosy, it tends to mean various different skin diseases, so it doesn't always have to be actual leprosy.
Yeah.
But, if it mentions usually the whiteness of the skin, that's generally leprosy.
Then David said to Joab and all people with him, "Tear your clothes and put on a sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner." King David himself walked behind the bier. A bier, by the way, is basically like something you would put a casket or a coffin on, and it would take it to the grave.
Or mortuary people probably knew that.
Well, I mean, I think it's like a term for something before a hearse. It's like an old-timey hearse. It's what carried the thing.
Coffin cart.
Kinda, but I feel like that's probably not what you would call it.
Coffin cart.
And you don't call them
You can
coffins
sell
either.
coffee off of it when you don't have coffins.
Okay, sure.
It's a coffee/coffin cart.
Stupid. They buried Abner in Hebron, and the king wept aloud at Abner's tomb. All the people wept also. David is taking this so hard.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which is weird because Abner, he didn't seem to know him before
Not
this.
really.
And Abner was like an enemy until like a day ago. But he takes it hard. The king sang this lament for Abner.
I like to imagine he freestyled this, by the way.
Yeah. Should Abner have died as the lawless die? Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. You fell as one falls before the wicked. Truly, David is a triple threat, a leader, a warrior, and a poet. He has the Jean-Luc Picard trifecta. All the people wept over him again. Then they all came out and urged David to eat something while it was still day. But David took an oath, saying, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun sets."
Why do they have to curse themselves?
I know.
That?
Here's what I'm thinking though. David is just making this about himself, frankly. David is just like, holy fuck, this guy died. Let me show how devout I am. It's all about him. What a dick. All the people took note and were pleased. Indeed, everything the king did pleased them.
Of course.
Just
the shit he threw out his window in the morning that landed on the street,
it pleased them.
It's the best of the shit. It smelled the best. Probably because he's the only one with an actual diet.
So on that day, all the people there and all Israel knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner, son of Ner.
Because he was really, really sad about it?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're guiltless. I mean, we know he's guiltless, but come on.
Or was he?
Or was he?
Who wrote this? Unreliable narrator. Then the king said to his men, "Do you not realize that a commander and a great man has fallen in Israel this day? And today, though I am the anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds." So basically, David is on track to become king, but unfortunately, as he was about to become one, he got fucked over by his own guy.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But hey, what are you gonna do? Don't worry about it though, next time. Some good stuff will happen to David, and bad stuff will happen to the people who helped him and get that good stuff, because David is a hypocrite. So, thanks everyone. If you want, you can always follow us on Twitter, @BibleReloaded.
You can follow Hugo at @HugoReloaded.
You can donate to our Patreon. We are so close to our $1,000 goal.
Yeah, it's actually going really quickly.
It's weird.
I imagine once we send Bibles to the people, which we actually looked at ordering today, but we're waiting until tomorrow to order them for shipping purposes. I imagine it'll go down a little bit.
Probably.
Because I don't expect everyone to stay at the 15 or whatever a lot of people are at for the Bibles.
Yeah.
But still, amazing work right now. It's so great.
And we're also getting really close to the Quran Reloaded thing, so we're actually having to start to figure out how we're doing that, which is interesting.
I think it'll be a little bit different because I don't want to edit it so heavily. So we're gonna work some stuff out, and hopefully it'll work and be entertaining at the same time. So stay tuned for that. Also, I don't know if you can tell with this episode, we accidentally have been running a little short recently. It's been closer to 20-minute episodes, and that was kind of on accident because we were undershooting how much stuff we had to read. So we're going to try to get closer to 25 to 30 minutes because I know that a lot of you guys prefer a little bit longer Bible episode, and I get it. Because it works really well for lunch breaks and stuff too. So we're going to try for 25 to 30 minutes more often. We shouldn't get back to 20 unless we have just something that doesn't make sense if we go any longer.
Yeah, hopefully. So, until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I am Jake.
And this has been The Bible Reloaded.
And next week, Hugo and I reenact the first season of Game of Thrones, and we play all the parts. I'm gonna be naked.
We're gonna have to bang.
We'll bang. It'll be fun.
Okay.